Hello and welcome everyone to another inventRight TV show. My name is Andrew Krauss. I'm one of the co-founders here. We have our fantastic, stupendous, amazing inventRight coach, Carl. Carl, how you doing, man?
Hi, Andrew. How are you?
Carl. And Carl is in Australia. It's so cool to have one of our coaches in Australia. And guess what? His student Ted, who's with us. Ted, welcome. Ted is also from Australia, so that's really, really cool. Makes the time difference a little easier. We've always been able to take care of our Australian students, but Carl being on the same time zone at least helps. Okay, so what we're going to be talking about today is, and for a lot of you that aren't InventRight students, it's going to be very, very helpful. It's going to help you from a mindset standpoint. Ted is going to talk about what he thought about, what he did, what he didn't do before he became an InventRight student. Like what were his thoughts? What were the missed thoughts? What were all, what was he focusing on? What was he worried about? And then transition to what does he think about now that he's been coached by Carl? What's his mindset? And so, even if you don't become an InventRight student one day, you're going to know like that shift you need to make. And if you become an InventRight student, that's great too, but it's definitely not necessary. So, Ted, why don't you tell us a little bit about where you were before, maybe a little bit where you live, how long you've been coming up with ideas, how long when you started coming up with ideas before you kind of on your own started doing something, whether it's just thinking or doing. Just give us a little background there.
Well, I studied mechanical engineering and always want to know how things work and question how things are made and how can you make it better and is there a different way to do it? So that mindset has always been there. Becoming an inventor and having your own idea is always like a dream too far, and you see the top of the mountain, but how do you get there? It's always kind of a mystery of it's an impossible dream in many ways. So one of the things I found was that you just don't know the way. How do you get there? And you see examples of things in having been made, and in engineering, it was always sort of taught that you have to open a factory, get the machines, set up your business, and that's how you start your own invention.
Did you think for a long time that was the only way you could bring a product to market?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so that must have been overwhelming to think that you had to do all that.
That's right. It was like the dream's too impossible. It's not, how can you do that? Like you have to save up a lot of money. And then you watch shows and always the inventor gets pushed out. So he goes into partnerships and slowly gets pushed out and ends up broke. There's more inventors that ended up with nothing than successful.
Right. You watch those movies or a story about that, like guy that did the intermittent windshield wiper or something like that. A lot of them are really positive stories actually. But it's just brutal starting a business and selling a product yourself.
Correct. And then I read Stephen Key's book, and it really sort of highlighted that there's a company that's already doing everything just the same as what you've got. If you can license to them, it's a superior way to do it.
Right, right. So how many years went by that you were thinking, oh, if I can't start a business and manufacture and sell it myself? I mean, we're talking decades here? I mean,
yeah, 25 years or more, longer.
Okay.
Because I always wanted to do these different things, but the dream is too big, the mountain's too high. And then I went and met a patent attorney one day, and he said, look, I think you should get this book and read this book. And from that point, it's like, oh, maybe this isn't so impossible after all.
Carl, a patent attorney that sent him to us, that's pretty rare. We beat up patent attorneys pretty good.
That's the first time I've heard of that. I didn't
No,
actually
there's
know
a few.
that background story either, Ted. So he gave you a copy of One Simple Idea, did he?
Yeah.
Yeah, he said, look, I recommend you talk to read this book and definitely it'll be a bit more suited, because he was sort of, he doesn't want to take a lot of money off people on something that may or may not come through. And reading the book, it makes perfect sense too, because why do you want to spend a whole lot of money on something that may not be good for the market?
Okay,
Absolutely.
so you thought it was going to cost huge amounts of money. You need to dump everything else you're doing, start a manufacturing company. You're like, I'm not doing
Yes.
that. Then you read our book, One Simple Idea, realize it's doable. Okay, so now we're transitioning to Carl helping you. What changed? What did you feel like? Oh, now this is totally doable. Why did your mind change? And let's go through the transition a little bit, and then where you are now. Like, what were the
So
big
it's a
transitions you made?
well, the big transition is I thought I'll do this online coaching, and I'll give it a chance. In my head I thought there's a 5 or 10% chance of success, but after you start doing it and Carl's giving you tips, and every week you're talking and finding out the best approach, my confidence has gone up a lot. So,
Carl, I'm going to ask you, when did you see his confidence change? And Ted, when did your confidence change when you got a response back from a company, even if it was a no, when you just started seeing the process? Carl, when did you see things change for
Well,
him, you think?
I think confidence comes in a couple of forms, and I think one of those forms is having the confidence that you know that you're onto the right thing with the right product, and the other sort of form of confidence is also sort of knowing what to do and when to do it, in the right place. So I think he's putting those two things together, and I think with every project that he's working on, I think every one is a little bit better and a little bit better, and the marketing's more improved, and and the product itself, Ted's a prolific inventor. He's got lots of great ideas, and I think each one builds on the last one, and I think he's just not sort of in the same space, but he just sort of makes incremental progress on each of them, in all areas, and I think that's would I be right in saying that, Ted? That's where a lot of the confidence that you're getting sort of comes from.
Oh, definitely, because for me it's like trying to climb this mountain on my own, and I've got Carl every week. It keeps me honest. Every week I've got things. Oh, what did I get done this week? Hey, I had a problem with this, and this company replied that, or I had a problem with this prototype, and what do you think? And there's always just that little bit of insight and a little bit of advice to keep it progressing. Without Carl there, what would happen is I would have 6 months or 8 months, and I would be thinking, oh, I really should be doing more with that. And whereas this way, every week, oh, what have I done? Yeah, we've got to here, and I spoke to them, and I've built this, and it keeps me honest, keeps me doing it.
It keeps you honest, but it keeps you doing the right things. Has there ever been a time where you're
Yes.
like, I want to go over here, and Carl's like, no, we need to get you over here, and here's why, and you're like, oh, okay. Does that happen a couple
Definitely,
times?
because I get overexcited. I'm like, hey, this company replied to me, and I'll quickly reply something that's stupid. And I'll send it to Cole, and he says, don't send that. You've got to say this.
Yeah. You're about to give the baby away with the bathwater.
Yeah. So it's not just the call every week, but it's having someone who's done it, who knows what they're doing, sort of hold your hand and say, oh, try this. And you think, oh, yeah, okay. So
Do
it's
you
really
like
helpful.
the hands-on nature of it, that you're not taking tests or quizzes and stuff? It's not theoretical, but that you're working on your actual products. I call that experiential
Yes.
learning. I mean,
It's
it sounds like you're saying that's tremendously beneficial.
Yes, that is. It's. I looked around before I joined inventRight, and there was different options here and there, and I mean, it seems like most other companies, it's a money-making business. inventRight is really just there to help you get to the top of the mountain. That's the aim. All the background material, all the coaching, everything's there to help you get to the top. It's not to get a percentage of what you earn or anything like that. It's definitely the best system I could find.
Carl said there was two things. Was one, Carl, was it guiding Ted to do the right research so he had more confidence in a particular product, and then confidence about the things to do once he had confidence in the product? Was that what he's saying? Is that accurate, Ted? Like
Yeah,
like he's like Carl's like, well, you got to look at this and this, and then you look, and the more you looked at it, the more it validated, hey, this product makes sense.
correct. So it's both advice for how to deal with other people to try to license your product, but also Carl's got a lot of expertise in product design.
Yeah.
So I have a product and I show him prototypes, and he's like, well, why don't we try this? Especially I have to put myself in the manufacturer's shoes. What's the easiest way for them to make it? And Carl's got a lot of really good advice for that.
He does.
Which helps.
He does. He's a trained industrial designer, which is pretty cool.
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's cool. I think Carl's cool.
I think it's cool, but I love what I do.
Yeah, Carl, you're amazing. So Ted, it sounds like a world of difference, and it was like everything was, first of all, what you thought what you had to do before you started with us, before you read our book, like, well, that's just a mountain too big to climb,
Yes.
too difficult. And then you realize you can do it, but then you're like, okay, but how do I do all this stuff? And then you learned it by doing it. You learned by being in the mix.
Correct.
That can be a little scary, going from being an inventor in your mind, I'm coming up with all these creative things, to actually doing the work of licensing, which is a fraction of starting a business, the thing that scared you so much, but it's still work. And so what advice do you have people from going from being an idea person to a person that's actually reaching out to companies? Is all this stuff that Carl's getting you to do super scary or super difficult? Or I don't mean to ask you a leading question. Say, oh yeah, I'm frustrated with this or that. Be really honest.
It's everything's broken down into small steps. So if I'm trying to climb to that mountain every day, it's like, this week let's get to here, next week let's get to there. There's no impossible task about it. And if I don't reach the top, that's still okay, because I got to base camp 1, we couldn't get to the summit. I'm learning to climb and getting better at this invention business every day, and it's perfect for me. Carl holds your hand and shows you everything you can do. If that product gets there or not, it's kind of not irrelevant, but for me, it's learning how to do it and enjoying doing it. I don't mind. But when I started, I thought my chances of success might be 5%. Now, in my mind, my chances of success is 100%. It's just how persistent I can be and enjoy the process. It might take me a year, it might take me 10 years. I like doing it, and I'm happy.
Wow, that's a recipe for success, huh, Carl?
That's a good way of saying it too, because persistence is everything. Yeah, and it's also recognizing that, it is a numbers game, and you've got to, get those rejections until you sort of get to the yes too.
But that getting those rejections is success, because now you're in the game.
Yeah.
You're actually doing it. If you're not getting those, it means you're not in the game. And so you're doing exactly what
I said that in the last email to Ted, actually.
Oh, good.
Exactly that.
Yeah, you're doing what I recommend all students do and coaches, is that you're celebrating all those little victories. You're celebrating that new skill you learned. You're celebrating getting that no from the company because you got it. You're in the game now, and the next one might be a yes. So, but if you don't enjoy all that, and it's all just terrible until you're at the top of the mountain with a licensing deal, just don't do it. I'm 53. So one thing that I've realized, you can be old at any age. You can be old at 20 or you can be old at 70. When you don't want to learn anything new, you're old. And so Carl's young, you're young, I'm young, we're all young, we're all about the same age. We were talking about that before. You guys are young, little younger than me. But you're willing to learn something new, Ted, and I can you talk a little bit about that and how that makes you feel? Maybe you're a guy that always is learning new things. Maybe you haven't learned anything new in a little bit. How does that make you feel?
It's actually every little step is interesting and exciting. So you're making your sell sheet video, for example, and sometimes you can be frustrated thinking, oh, I don't know how to edit videos. And then you talk to your coach, Carl gives you some tips, and then next week you're, oh, hang on, this isn't that hard. You send in the first version of the video, and it's like, oh, I think you need music, and I think you should put these words in. And before you know it, I'm like a video editing expert. But it's at first it feels like I don't know how to do that, and then after all, you're like, oh, that actually is not that hard. So everything gets broken down into bite-sized, easy pieces. Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Carl, you go ahead.
Oh, well, I was going to add, one of the other things I found is when I tell people I want to be an inventor and I'm inventing this, everyone looks at you like you're a bit crazy. If I said to people, hey, have you seen this latest movie? Everyone knows what to say. You talk to someone and say, hey, I'm looking about being an inventor. They look at you like you're crazy. One of the really good things about this is I talked to Carl and he's like, yeah, we've got to do this, we've got to do that. He knows exactly what I'm doing, and there's no kind of, what do you know, there's no discouragement.
Right.
Which I find
Yeah, it's that one person that really, really gets you, and and they know how to say the right things at the right time and be very encouraging. And your family and friends, let's say they're supportive. They can say supportive things, but they have no idea how to guide you, and it doesn't really totally feel like support because they're like, yeah, good, but they don't know you're doing it right. But when you got a coach that knows you're doing it right and supporting you, it's like, okay, they're not just being kind, they're being truthful. And I'm sure there's been some times where Carl set you straight on your thinking because you're talking to him every week, and people will get a little off track, but they get right back on track, little off track. And that's why it's so important to meet with your coach every week, because we have a program called the 2W program. If we don't hear from a student in 2 weeks, coaches are going, where are you? What are you doing? And, oh, I don't want to bother you because I didn't get anything done. Well, it's exactly why you should talk to me. So they're all about keeping you on track with the mindset. It's a mindset. It's more of a mental game, and people don't like it when I say this. It's more about the effort to try to license it than about the product. If inventors were horses, which they're not, and I had an inventor that had a great product, and they kind of half-assed the effort, and I had an inventor, it's okay, it's an okay product, but they made the effort. I would put my money on that inventor with an okay, very okay product, and they really made the effort any day. I would make money on that inventor, Yes. But
absolutely, yeah, it's the big picture sort of stuff. Yeah, the whole package rather than just like, the idea.
Yeah, well, some people think they're done with the idea. Oh, I filed a patent, I made a prototype, I'm done. I just need some, it's like, no, you're not. You're not done.
No.
But anyway, Ted, thank you so much for coming on. Carl, thank you for coaching Ted. Thank you.
No
thank you guys on the other side of the world there. It's like, what time is it? Is it 7:30?
7:30
a.m. Yeah, it's 2:30 where I am. So thank you guys so much. I remind everybody to take care and keep inventing, and we'll catch up with you guys next time. See ya. Bye.